Barry has always been a tough show to get a handle on. Seemingly hell-bent on staying 3 steps ahead of the viewer, the show positioned itself as Breaking Bad speedball. Ostensibly, a half-hour comedy about a disgraced Afghanistan veteran who becomes a hitman when he realizes his murderous set of skills has no real use in modern life. Well, outside of killing people for money. Still, Barry learns that maybe he could express some of his rage, PTSD, and the wide array of emotional problems that neither he nor the country that set him to war seems capable of solving through theater. Imagine what this country could be with an arts program as robust as its military-industrial complex. But it's not. In the country where this recap is being written, Barry yells "gun" at a Walmart clerk, and neither she nor anyone in this bustling store of shoppers, clerks, security guards, and likely fellow veterans does a thing about it. Barry straps on 2 military-grade assault rifles, holsters his pistols, and walks purposefully through the automatic doors to his car unbothered by the heavy artillery attached to his person. Like the gangster who rides leisurely to NoHo Hank's crime utopia earlier in the season, violence seemingly doesn't register with people in the world of Barry. Part of that, as the episode unravels, is the absolute hunger we as a society have for a clean narrative. This happened because of that. It's been Barry's guiding light for the last 4 seasons as one bad decision begets another, and so on, until NoHo Hank clutches the bronze hand of the love of his life. His last breath heard only by the few barely living soldiers bleeding out around him. Sure, now, Livewire sees the value of human life as he pleads with GrooveTube to wake up. But it's the narrative that compels us, right? Why did Barry do all this? Why did Fuchs? Hank? The answer to why men do the things that they do is innocuous, an everyday evil, a banal response from Fuchs. I was a man with no heart. It's a charge that fits the bill for basically every man on this show. Barry has long been a show about a bunch of Hollywood assholes who refuse to accept accountability for their actions. That it came out in the middle of the first wave of Me Too allegations makes its satire a little overblown and on the nose. In a world where no one cares that a wanted, armed killer is walking through a department store with a face like Barry's and the means to do it, the blind eye we all turn to these mundane evils is as much a part of the show's narrative as anything. Of course, Barry wants us to have fun with this idea too. It is funny, says the critic who has been enjoying the show's descent into darkness while still finding the bright spots of humor the show's best attribute. How fun are we supposed to have with this stuff? What's so funny about all this killing anyway? Through Barry's perspective, we always had a detached view of the subject, allowing moments of horror to happen casually. In Barry's final half hour, nothing's really that funny until the narrative takes over. That narrative isn't the one the show has been telling this whole time, the one with Dieter's in the middle of nowhere or Hank's NoHo hourglass. It's the one that the people inside the world of Barry concocted to make sense of it. What do they do to the Barry Berkman story, the tale of a lost veteran trying to understand himself through art and murder? They turn it into a Jack Reacher movie, an actioneer that could be charitably called Paul Schrader Light. After all, the only narrative left is the one where Barry is a hero. Buried at Arlington Cemetery with full accommodations. I mused earlier this week about how I couldn't see this show having its Taxi Driver ending, where he ends up the hero. And, aside from the whole getting shot in the forehead thing, that's what happens. By the end of Barry, Barry's a hero to the world and his son. That was God's plan for Mr. Berkman. And God answers Barry's wishes. When the episode starts, we hear the same discordant sound cue we left off on last week. Hoping to draw that same line of intensity from the previous installment, we cut to the Raven, sitting pretty in his palatial tub when Hank calls with a deal. He's got Sally and John, but Fuchs is only interested in the latter. He's barely interested in Barry. While the mask collector has a very specific and stupid meaning come the episode's end, it could very well apply to Fuchs here. When Raven arrives at No Hobble to face off with Hank's spectrum of goons that create a color profile that would make Roy G. Biv proud, he tells Hank that he had a come-to-Jesus moment in prison. After daily beatings, he realized exactly who he was, the aforementioned man with no heart. He sees the same in Hank. And while he calls Hank for what he is, a snake, he also demands that he drop the act, the denial that fuels Hank's continued success as a businessman. And it crushes Hank. Close-up of Bill Hader before Cousineau shoots him in the chest and head. It's a stunning shot from the acting teacher, who must have done some target practice in Israel. But it seals the deal on Barry's legacy.